Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Money and Mindset at 40 Plus, where we, Jenny and Sylvia, and our guest today invite you to play big as you conquer your money fears and money stories. We're so excited. If you've guessed it, I'm Sylvia.
I'm Jenny.
We have a special guest, Pamela. Welcome, Pamela George.
Hello, and thank you for having me.
Oh, we're so excited, so excited. We thought, Jenny and I, that we would have a guest on who knows finance and not a financial advisor. She's going to tell you what she does, but more so, we're going to tap into her story because she has an amazing story. And you know, Jenny and me are all about our stories, right, Jenny?
Yeah. So if you're listening, maybe this is the chance to tuck into your lunch, pull an extra cup of coffee, maybe curl your feet up underneath and sit back while we tell you some stories. And Pamela, without further ado, what is your very first memory about money? Tell us more.
All right. So my first memory, it's back in Trinidad, where I'm from. And my mom, my stepfather, and my younger sister, we all packed up and we went in his van to a drive-in cinema, what we would call, right? Now, we were struggling for money. We were very poor. So buying food at the drive-in cinema was not an option. So my mother would cook everything. Everything. She would cook the dinner that we'll have there. She would cook the snack. She would make the snacks like Indian stuff. And she would have probably baked a cake the day before and she'd slice them up. So there's no, Ma, can I have this? Ma, can I have that? And I look back now and it was such good food. But as a child, I wanted what I was smelling outside from the restaurant, right? Or from what the folks were walking by the van with. And that was KFC.
Didn't we all want that when we were kids? I remember.
I remember my mouth watering. Yeah. And I would ask, like children would, Ma, can I have some KFC? And no, there's so much food here. You can't have it. But the second time we went back, which might have been the month after, she remembered that I wanted the KFC, and it was 4 of us in the van. She bought one snack box, which is 2 pieces of chicken, fries, and a biscuit, and all 4 of us shared that, and it was a treat.
Wow.
So that was my money memory, that my mother didn't have a lot of money, so she cooked her own food. A lot of us could learn some stuff from that, right? And when she was actually able and willing to buy the thing that I wanted, we savored it, right? And it wasn't like each of us going to get a box and then we're going to probably waste some stuff. No. We savored it and all ate from this one thing that she bought. So yeah, my first memory.
Times have changed so much.
Oh yeah.
When you think about that, I can actually relate to going to McDonald's, which was a huge treat for us, and how special it was. Not the way my kids go out to restaurants, right, Pamela?
No, completely different. Yeah, going for us to McDonald's, it was the same thing, Jenny. We would go to McDonald's maybe on a Friday night. My mom didn't want to cook anymore, but that was a big thing.
Yeah.
And sharing that McNugget box with my brothers. And yeah, and nowadays it's like, oh, we want to go. My daughter's like, I want lobster. Mom, let's go for lobster. I was like, where do we go from McDonald's to lobster? You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
it's a sign of the affluent society we live in. Because back in Trinidad, I know there are people can't afford to eat out. And it's a treat when they can treat themselves once a month. You know, so it's a sign here of the culture and the society we live in here in Ottawa, Canada. So, yeah.
So how? Oh, go, Jenny. Go ahead.
I'm going to jump in. So I want to hear more about how that story. I want to hear more about what you do now, and then maybe during the podcast we can fill in the gaps. But I am fascinated. I imagine that story influences a lot your role as a credit counselor. Is that fair to say, Pamela? Tell me more.
That story influences, definitely influenced it, but what the big influence for why I do what I do goes a little way back, with my mother losing everything. Right. And I would indulge in that story a little bit, and then that will explain why I do what I do. So my mother had 9 children.
Wow.
I am number 8. And she got married when she was about, I don't know, 12 or 13. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
By the time
Wow.
she was 18, she had 5 kids.
Wow. Oh my
And
gosh.
back in the day, she did something that no Indian woman would have done, which was unhappy in her marriage. I guess her husband was cheating on her, and she left him with the 5 kids. She left with her kids and moved back with her parents, which in Indian culture, that's such a big shame. You don't do that. But she did that, and
Mm.
she took care of she took care of her kids financially and didn't depend on a man for her 5 kids, those first 5 kids.
Mm.
But again, the culture, right? My grandparents said, she needs to have a husband. How will it look? So they found they found my father for her.
Oh
She was
my.
doing it herself. And then my
She
mom,
was too busy. She was too busy with 5 kids to find a man.
right?
Right?
So she ended up having 4 more kids with him, hence the
Wow.
9. But she's always been very financially independent. She never
Mm.
depending on my dad. And the amazing thing, one of the most amazing things I think, is that she was illiterate. She couldn't read or write.
Wow.
She could
What a story, Pamela. What an
spell her
amazing
name.
woman.
I remember as an adult, just maybe a couple months before she died, I was teaching her the alphabet because she wanted to learn. Right? But anyway,
Mm.
she couldn't read or write, and she started her own little business. So I don't know how familiar you are with Trinidadian cuisine, but there's this thing called a roti. It's a wrap, sort of like a burrito type thing, but it's filled with curried chicken or lamb or goat or something, chickpeas and potatoes and pumpkin, and you wrap it, and it's the most
Wow.
delicious thing in my opinion.
We're all hungry now and it's
Right.
noon, right? My mouth is watering.
Anyway, she was a good cook.
Wow.
She was a good cook, and the property that she had was directly opposite a factory, a clothing factory with lots of workers. So she started up selling roti around lunchtime, so everybody would come and buy, right? And she did that for years. She ended up having her house built using money from that, and without a mortgage. Imagine a single mother,
Mm.
9 kids, and having a house built without a mortgage. Um, all of us, we went to school, that type of thing. And she was doing really, really well. And by this time, my dad had left and she would jokingly say, my father is the laziest man she knew. They weren't a good match, obviously. So at some point, he left. And he left when I was quite young. But
Okay.
and I can laugh about it now. But yeah, she said he was the laziest man she knew. And I guess what she meant was his ambition didn't match hers, is what I'm saying, right? So she was doing fine, taking care of us. The first 5 set of children had married and moved away. So it was just 4 of us at home. And she met a man. So this is all her life. She had men chosen for her first husband and her second husband. And for the first time in her life, I guess she would have been 39, 40. That's a tricky age. That age, something happens, at that age. So she at that age, I guess, I don't know if she started looking, she became more aware of herself as a woman and her independence and that type of thing. But she met a man. Oh my goodness, she met a man and she fell in love. And everything that she knew about money and how she, and what she did to manage her money and take care of it and that type of thing, she let it go because she fell in love. And although she would have been around 40, remember, this love thing is new to her, It's new. So I guess a woman of her age back in the day, you feel if you're in love, you need to give up, control and all of that. And as I say control, I'm seeing the header on the screen.
Yes.
And you doesn't control you. Yeah. So she did that. And long story short, she ended up selling her house, the one that we lived in, that she built without a mortgage, closed up her shop, and she moved in with this man, my stepfather. By that time, it was just myself, my younger sister, and I. My younger sister, so myself, my younger sister, my mom with my stepdad, sorry. And the others had moved out. And I don't quite understand it, like the specifics, but the money she got from the sale of the house, she used that to build a house on this man's land, legally in Trinidad. And maybe it's not so, but that's what we were told. Anyway, within a week or so of the house being completed, and we now arranging stuff and moving in, he threw us out in the streets.
He took everything.
Literally.
Oh my gosh.
With just our clothes and whatever little. And we had to go stay at people's house, 2 days here, 2 days here. And it's not just a woman, it's a woman with her 2 children and a bunch of shit, all her suitcases and whatnot. And that broke my mother. It did. And we were homeless for a while. I mean, 3 days here, 2 days here, until they got fed up of us, right? My mother wasn't working, so they had to feed 3 extra mouths. So it was complicated. We eventually got somewhere. It was somebody in the village. They had a garage that was empty. Now, a garage in Trinidad and a garage in Canada, 2 different things. Let me just say. So it's this old shed, concrete. So when the sun is hot, you know what's going on, right? It's concrete, old wooden door, and it's the size of a probably 10 by 10 bedroom. My mother, my sister, and I.
How old were you?
At this time, I would have probably been I don't know, 15, 16, 17. The time is always, I get the timings a bit mixed up, and I think it's a bit of trauma that's happening there. There are things I forget as well. Right. Anyway, so we'll sleep. So one bed is in that garage, and we're sleeping the other way, sideways. So your feet hanging off the bed. That's how we slept. And if you at the end of the bed and you throw your hand a little too far, you'll hit the stove, the little tabletop stove, and all the clothes are in boxes packed up. And we lived like that for 6 months. And I remember thinking, at least we don't have to move. I was grateful for a garage where I shared with my mother and my sister, the size of a bedroom.
So how, with that amazing story, that is an amazing story, Pamela, and you are an amazing storyteller. Yeah. How do you get out of that situation? I know we don't have hours to chat about this, but when do you start learning, embarking on your career? Where does that?
So over the years, so my mom died and all of that, I had to take care of my sister, but all through those things, I realized money was what would make this happen for me. So I struggled, and I learned the lesson as I went along. But I got to a point where I was okay. I was okay. I bought my first home back in Trinidad. I'm doing well. But I look back and I see women struggling. And I thought, no, I struggled too. And I got out of this. And if I could do it, you can too. So I started a whole set of, reflection, figuring out what I wanted to do. And around that same time is when I moved to Canada. And I, when I was in Trinidad, I used to say Canada was the land of milk and honey. Because from an island gal perspective, coming from poverty, it was, right? And I just want to say, so I came here when I was like about 39, 38.
Okay, I thought it was earlier than that. Yeah.
No,
it hasn't been too long.
Years ago. Yeah. And I came here, I had no debt when I left Trinidad. I had savings. I had a good asset base. And I come to Canada with that, and I am meeting people who are struggling. And I know this because I was working at Algonquin College, financial aid. So I am seeing, and I could not understand how people were struggling so much in the land of milk and honey.
Right. Because it's flowing abundantly. Yes.
And yet I came from an island, from poverty, and I had no debt, and I had savings even, right? And that started the journey of questioning what's going on. And I started, because I saw the children at Algonquin, the students of Algonquin, my clients who would come to me, not understanding money and being in trouble with money. I started to offer free financial literacy classes. Lunch and learn.
There you go.
From there, it just grew. I worked for a credit counseling agency, and I'd never, no matter what I did, where I went in the financial literacy realm, I was never quite happy with how things were done. I felt that nobody was really putting the clients first, truly putting them first. So I decided, well, I'll do it myself then. I'll get it done. So I started up my business, Pamela George Financial Literacy, and I created a model that puts the client first. Right? I seek my clients' interest. I'm not trying to sell them a product to get a commission. I'm not doing anything like that. I am putting my clients first. And that's how I ended up here.
Well, oh yeah, look, Stacy here. What an amazing story, Pamela. So inspiring. It is inspiring to go. And in what we were talking about before, the difference in cultures and the different in mindset when it comes to money, right? I mean, here you come to Canada where it is we buy everything on credit, and that's what gets people in trouble, right?
Yes.
Saving is not a common word in everybody's.
No, I don't know if you and Jenny know this about me, but I also wrote a children's book about money, eh?
Oh, tell us, what's the title?
So it's called Three Little Piggy Banks.
I love it.
And Ella and Andy, I think they're turning 5. But isn't it sad? I can't remember my own story. They're turning 5. And they wanted stuff like a camera and a bike, I think. And the mom and the dad decided to use that as a teaching opportunity. So they bought them 3 little piggy banks, and one of the piggy banks was for saving to buy the gift that they want. But what I believe as well, in addition to savings, we need to also put aside, we need to learn how to spend properly. We need to learn to save, we need to learn to spend, but we also need to give gratitude and learn to share and give charity. So the 3 piggy banks was called saving, sharing, and spending.
Saving, sharing, and spending. Yes.
I think that's the foundation, even for adults. It's the very basic foundation for money management. You need to save, you need to give back and be grateful and do some form of charity and giving back. And you also need to spend, but spending intentionally, not just like crazy spending, which is what I feel happens a lot.
Well, we see that, when you watch a show like Marie Kondo, where, you're cleaning out your houses and these people have mountains and mountains of clothes with tags on it. I am not like that because clothes is not my thing. However, it is over the top. It is over the top. And they haven't learned that as children. And I think as parents, Jenny and I talk about how are we raising our kids about talking about money. And it's going to be very different than what we were taught as money. And I love that. So I want to repeat that one. Saving, sharing, and spending. Yes.
I want to pick up on, so I love, first of all, I'm like secretly excited because you mentioned sharing. And of course, that's my passion, is charity work and giving the things that matter to you. I'm curious, what was it about, how do you notice, urban versus rural, different cultures, do you see themes through them? I don't want to go into a ballywag here, but are there themes? So for example, rural people, do you find they tend to be more self-sufficient, or folks from the city? Are there trends that you see in your clients?
I find, so I'll talk about the clients that I have. My clients who live in the rural areas, they're more simple, I find, and simple in themselves and how they live, but also in how they spend their money. Right? So somebody from the city, if I'm doing a budget, their food, their eating out budget might be $200-$300, whereas somebody in the country, it would be maybe $75. Right? I find that people in the city, however, they are more, and again, this is just my clientele, they are more environmentally I don't want to use the word aware. So somebody in the city, like I live downtown Ottawa, smack in the middle. And so there's more walking to go wherever you want to go. Walking to go, or maybe biking, that type of thing, I find. And they do it not necessarily because they want to save money, but because of the environment. It's one of the reasons why I do it as well. So I don't have a car, not because I can't afford to, but because I choose not to contribute to the demise of the environment by having a car. That's just my choice, right? And that's the biggest difference I think I see.
Yeah. And tell me more about your clients. Could you think of one of the most surprising moments you've had with a client, perhaps? And we should also say too that we want to make a follow up and find out how people can learn more about you and whatnot. But I'd love to hear about a surprise that happened during a client.
I stress that my counseling is non-judgmental, and I think part of it being non-judgmental is that nothing should really surprise or shock me. So for me to say that, I don't know the answer to that, but I will say every client has a story, and I treasure each one of them, and they're the same, but they're unique at the same time. And clients, when they come to me, a lot of tears are shed. And sometimes I'm the one shedding those tears with my clients. But nothing surprising, everything touching, everything very moving, everything at a place where it's ready to be dealt with and put to bed, but nothing surprising, no.
I think we have perhaps some preconceived ideas of who would go and see you, right? And what we were talking about before, no, there are people with high salaries that still live way above their means, right? That means nothing. So no matter, it's not what you make, it's really what you do with your money.
So my clients, I mean, they would work from anywhere from $50,000 a year. My highest earning client, I think it's $400 and something a year.
$1,000.
Yes, 400. I think it's 435,000 a year. So it doesn't discriminate, and it's every race you can think of that come to me for counseling. I mean, some more than others, but I've got it covered. It does not discriminate.
And you do it with such style too, Pamela.
What's that?
You do it with such style. I have to say, your energy and the way you approach the subject, I think you are also really good at making it feel comfortable for people.
I would like to think so. Thank you.
Oh, just listening to you here, you feel like sharing with you, right? And I think that's probably one of your biggest strengths. But how has a woman, middle-aged woman, a person of color, not from here, how are you perceived, like in a man's world? Let's use that. You're in finance, you're working with money, and that is a very often a male energy. How is that affected in a good way or a bad way, your work?
I think it's normal for people to underestimate me, to be honest. But they do, and then they get to know me and they're fine with it. I can't say I've had negative stuff happen like that because of that. I do find there are some men, when they come to me for counseling and I have to talk to them about money, that could be a little bit of pushback. But I don't have a lot of male clients. But there's a little bit of that when I do get a male client. But as a woman of color, I would like to think that I've been well received. If somebody has an opinion of me, well, it's none of my business. And I certainly don't know about it. I don't make it a big issue. If somebody doesn't like my style or like what I do, then that's on them, not me. I'm just doing my stuff.
And we attract the people we want to work with, right? I mean, that's the lovely thing about running our businesses is that you will attract, you put out there, and the people that come to you will want to work with you.
So to answer your question, what opinions or what impression, I really don't know. I would say that I think I come across as very bubbly and positive. I think that's what it would be, but I haven't had any negative stuff.
That's good. That's good. We want to leave people with some tips. I mean, we can go on, and thank you everybody for your comments today. It's look, the time is already every week we get caught, Jenny, at this point in time, and then we're saying, oh my gosh, we could talk about this for more. If you have questions for Pamela, and we can't maybe address them here, but we can address them in the chat on the YouTube chat afterwards. You can ask your questions. We'll invite Pamela to go and answer if it's something specific. She will leave us with a few tips and tools, I believe. That's go for it, Pamela. What in this moment in time with a pandemic where many people are being affected by the situation, what are some steps that you?
I would give the most foundational step. You need to know what you're spending, and you need to know that what that is against what you're bringing in. So guess what? You need a budget. I know most people don't want to hear it. I know you need a budget. So here's what I did. If you go to my website, Pamela George, financialliteracy.com, there is a button on the home page that says Guide to Budgeting. It's a free guide. It's a one-pager.
Thank goodness.
You print it out, and it will give you the very basics to start your budget. So it would ask you, as an example, what is your net income? It would explain what your net income is, right? You put that there. It would ask you to separate, to figure out, okay, what's your housing cost? Because you need to know. There are 5 categories: housing, transportation, debt repayment, savings, and the category called life, which everything else falls under. And you need to know what you're spending on each. So that guide to budgeting will help you figure that out. If you do it and you want more help, you can also book a free call from my website as well.
Yeah. So is LCBO, the 4 letters, interpreted as life?
What category does that go into?
Liquor Control Board of Ontario?
I'll tell you this. Under life, I have a section for alcohol, tobacco, and cannabis.
There you go.
Because if that is what you want and that is important for you and it's fun, then it needs to be in your budget. And I am a big believer in we need to enjoy our money. Too many times, our money brings us stress and guilt. And I think we need to turn that around, and it needs to bring us joy and happiness.
So I'm going to pick up on joy and happiness. I want to thank Pamela for bringing joy and happiness to this live stream. I find you an incredibly inspirational person, and I think one of your special gifts is taking, I'm getting caught up, your story and transforming it into helping others, which is what this show is all about. Thank you. I wanted to, thank you, Pamela. And you can continue the conversation with Pamela, like Sylvia said, on the YouTube channel. We'll be posting, if you have questions, post them there. Please don't forget to subscribe so you can get more good stuff like this in your inbox and reminders. I do want to pick up on next week's show. Next week's show, we're doing 3 money books that changed our lives.
I have like 25 of them, but we're only picking 3. We'll do more shows.
And I'd be interested, Pamela, maybe we can, Pamela, we can get a book for you too, from you. That would be a suggestion. Although I'm going to run out and get that Three Little Piggy Banks book.
I'll recommend my book. I'll do it now. Get my book.
And well, you'll give me the link. I'll put the link in the comments too of the show. So I would love to have that. That's a great book for the kids. Yeah,
I'll get it now, actually. Yeah.
So that's all the time we have for now. I see people in the comments just saying thank you for sharing your story. I hope that brings you joy and happiness as well, Pamela.
Thank you, guys.
That's really wonderful of you to do for all of us listening to this this episode. And Sylvia, I think it's time to say goodbye.
Yes, wishing everybody an abundant week. We'll be back next Thursday at 12. Thank you, Pamela, so much.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.